And mic on. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, everybody. Councillor Pringle will join us here shortly. I will start off with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, culture of the Aniashinaabeg, the people of the three fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to the Chippewa Saugeen, the Chippewa of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We recognize the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Do you have anything to add to our agenda here tonight? Councillor Barfa, go ahead.
I just have a couple things I want an update on, but I'll ask it later under
new business.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you care to tell us what they are now, Carol? Or
okay, they're just okay. I'm sort of in a quandary here. Ratepayers get a hold of us, and they have concerns, and we try to help as much as we can. We end up forwarding it to staff. What I want to know is, what is the outcome of this? Because then you get a ratepayer that notifies you again, and I've had this happen several times, where they said they phoned the township office, left a message several times with different people, and nobody gets back to them. So I would like to know how we get follow-ups on concerns that we forward to staff.
Okay, Carol, we'll have that discussed now. Just a brief outline. That's great. And you had a second one?
I guess we can roll it all into one. Well, the phone system and the callback and updates. No,
sure.
There's two there.
Okay, thank you, Carol. We'll staff have noted that, and we'll put it under new business. If there's no other item to add to our agenda here today, I'll read the recommendation that the agenda be approved as amended. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Pringle. Welcome, Grant. Show of hands, all in favor, please. Good, thank you. It's carried. Declaration of peculiar interest, you declare anytime you see fit during the meeting. Moving on, we have no public hearings, we have no delegations. Correspondence, we have one piece of correspondence here from Great Sawville Conservation Authority, inventory of programs and services. And Councillor Colburn, would you please speak to this?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So following the changes in the Conservation Authorities Act, we are required as a municipality to enter into a different type of negotiations with our local conservation authorities. Previously, Council had access to the transition plan that the Conservation Authority, our local one, has provided to us. And further to that is this document in your agenda packages this evening, which is the list of programs and services that Grey Sawville Conservation Authority offers to us as a municipality. And those services are in three categories. The first category is mandated programs and services. So those are ones that we are able to access and we don't have a choice about. They're mandated by the province. The other two categories are non-mandatory categories or a list of inventory of programs and services that we can choose from as a council for our municipality. So I do believe, and Mr. Mayor, you are on the board with me, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this inventory is still in draft form. So if you have comments or suggestions, if you see anything that you would like to see there that may be missing, please let either the mayor or myself know and we can take that back. The inventory list will be reviewed. These non-mandatory programs and services that we may wish to select will be provided to us under an agreement. that we will negotiate with our local conservation authority. And so that will be unique to our needs as a municipality. Unfortunately, the timing of these changes is such that we have to have those agreements put in place by January of 2024. So it will, I think, mostly fall to the next term of council to finalize those agreements. But that's not to say that we shouldn't be aware of what's available to us and even provide perhaps some input to staff as to what we see would be necessary or important for us to have as a program or service from our local conservation authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn. This is mainly for information tonight for council and members of the public, but thank you very much for doing that. So I'm going to move on. Do I have a hand? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Was there anyone else? I apologize. Is there anyone that wanted to comment on this piece of information? See nobody? Okay. Moving off our agenda, we're down to staff reports. The first staff report is from operations, and I will read the recommendation to put it on the floor. A staff report OPS 2022-09 entitled 022 water rates be received for information purposes, and that the new water rates be enacted effective May 1st, 2022 for the July 22nd water billing circulation, thus allowing for adequate time for notifying residents, and that a bylaw to establish 2022 water rates be presented at the February 16th, 2022 council meeting. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councillor Pringle. Jen, sorry, Steve, you're going to speak to this? Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to committee tonight. Just a reminder that this is a legislative requirement for the township to take water for our water systems. We've had several public consultations on this topic of the water financial plan, and then also the rates will be in effect for May 1st, 2022, but will not be showing up until the July bill. So I am going to pass it over to the Madam Treasurer to continue on.
Thank you, Steve. Madam Treasurer, please go ahead.
So through you, I just want to reiterate to committee here tonight that water systems must be self-funded. So no tax dollars go towards the water systems. They are only paid for by the users who are connected to that individual system. Otherwise, we are here to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Coburn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the rest of committee. I just wanted to thank staff for the efforts that they have put into this plan, and also behind the scenes answering several questions and consulting with members of the public who had questions. So I do thank them for that. Even today, I was getting phone calls regarding this matter, and there being some confusion over some of the examples provided, and in particular for the East Linton system. And without any desire to make this even more onerous for staff, I just wonder if it's possible to give us a very simple example from the East Linton system as to a typical household and their typical consumption. So, and of course that doesn't include seasonal residents. So taking an average is perhaps not the best way of looking at a typical consumption for a household, but a full-time family or a couple using the old system and comparing it to the new system I know that there were examples provided, but is there something that's a little more clear to share with folks to sort of put minds at ease and help everyone understand it better.
Thank you, Councilor Colburn. I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer. I believe she does have an example. Are you going to share your screen? Yeah. Okay.
So through you, I just want to let
Sorry,
council.
Sam, could you please speak right up to the mic? Yeah.
So through you to council and committee, sorry, both examples that were provided in our presentation on December 15th are actual water bills that we pulled. We ensured that the residents did not have numerous days of zero consumption. Both examples only had 1 to 2 days of zero consumption. So these are not seasonal households. These are both fully occupied households. We don't know exactly how many residents are in each house, but they are legitimate water bills that we pulled. So when we look at slide 11, this household for the 59 days used 14.9 cubic meters of water. That is on average 0.26 cubic meters of water per day. So they are very low water users, but they did use water every single day. Then when we look at the next slide, again, this is for the same billing period. This household used 39.2 cubic meters throughout the 59 days. So on average, they used 0.67 cubic meters per day. But again, there was only probably 1 to 2 days of zero usage, and neither of these examples had water leaks. I hope that clarifies.
Sam, before I turn over to questions on this particular example, you really have no way of telling how many occupants are in each household, and you're just going by the usage and not by the number of people that got family of 4 or something like that. You're not really looking at that, are you?
So through you, we have no way of knowing how many children may be in a home. We only know what names may be on title. And both of these properties had 2 names on title. So I would assume they at least have 2 occupants.
Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions? Please speak up because I can't see your screen.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. It's Councillor
Go ahead,
Thompson.
Councillor Thompson.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and it appears to me that people really are having trouble understanding what the impact is going to be to them. So in the conversations I've had with, ironically, have been, sorry, excuse me. Let me take a drink. Just bear it up with me.
Sam, could you maybe on share your screen?
The people I've talked to are curiously, to me, in an area where I think they might even see a reduction in their rates, but they're still really concerned, confused, and upset. So my curiosity would be, I wonder if it's worth, I know we're asking staff to take a lot of time about this and on this topic, but I wonder if this might be time well spent if we spent some time creating something that we can put on our website. And I looked all over our website yesterday and on the weekend just to make sure that we didn't see something like this. But what I imagine is something that people could go to and look at their bill and try and compare it to what it's going to look like. And that might seem like an outlay of time for staff now, but I'm wondering if it'll help go some way to explain things to people so that they'll be able to really appreciate what the impact is going to be for them. So I put that out there to see what my colleagues think and also what staff recommend.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'm going to turn it over to Madam CEO and comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to committee. Staff would be committed to providing any information that provides clarification. I just do want to remind council that we have tried to answer questions through public consultation and even gone so far as having a list of people and sitting down with a number of people individually and walking them through their bill. And to Councillor Thompson's comment, there were many people who, when staff met with them, walked them through their bill, and they understood that because it was a user pay, they were paying for what they were using. Their bill was actually going down. There were a lot of people who said, "Wow, you know, I understand this now." So staff will take away the suggestion to put something on the website that might do a bit of a breakdown of a bill and a comparison, if council thinks that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Councillor Pringle, please go ahead.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, I'm kind of, I was kind of leaning along the lines of what Ryan, or Councillor Thompson was just mentioning there too. It's going to be great for some people and not great for other people when they have the changes come into play. One place that kind of really shocks me or brings attention to me is like Potawatomi Village there, where their rates are going to, you know, skyrocket quite a bit, and they still got nothing. Like, they have horrible water. End of story, right? And that really bothers me. We're going to put the water rates up, and we give them nothing more than the muddy water they got now. So that doesn't sit real well with me. I don't know how we get around to helping those people out, but I just don't like that whole scenario. I agree with the fact that maybe there's a little better way we can settle people's minds at ease a little bit here, because some of the numbers, they look really good, but is that going to be the reality when it all comes out? So I do share the same concerns as what Ryan or Councillor Thompson mentioned. I would like to see a little bit more information and maybe trying to satisfy some of these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle, for your comments. Councillor Coburn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Burley. And I so much appreciate hearing the voices of my former two colleagues. I thought I was the only one that was, maybe hearing from a lot of ratepayers with concerns and questions. I think what I'm hearing is that they agree with the philosophy behind it and the conservation of water and how this will help with that if people are paid according to the usage, and that it's more equitable in terms of the process across the board. But what I'm hearing is that people are still confused and still worried. And so I do worry about pushing something through when these feelings are still lingering.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn. Madam CEO, any comments?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to committee, I'll just share experience that I've had with many water systems. You know, anytime we change something, it is a bit concerning. I will remind council that you are the owners of these water systems. There is a requirement under the Safe Drinking Water Act that we have a sustainable plan for these drinking water systems. And so, you know, one of the things that we're striving to do is put that 5-year sustainable plan together. And to the comment about improving our drinking water systems, I mean, it is these reserves that we will be drawing upon to make any improvements. And I guess from a staff perspective, not only from a conservation standpoint, but from an equity standpoint, incorporating a user pay portion to our fee, in staff's opinion, is the right way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Does council have any other questions on this motion before us? Councillor Coburn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Burley. I guess my question is about timelines. We understand we have a deadline. We have to have a 5-year plan in place that takes us from 2022 to 27. We don't want to delay putting this new pay system in place because that becomes more costly. What kind of leeway do we have between now and a reasonable deadline where we might be able to get more information, as Councillors Pringle and Thompson have said, and get more clarity out to the ratepayers before we have to commit?
Madam CEO, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to committee, I think staff is at a loss of what we would need much more clarity on what it is that council is looking for. I mean, honestly, you can defer this whole thing, but you're compounding the issue for next year and the subsequent 3 years. So I think staff is committed to providing clarification, providing further information, but we would need much more clarity on what it is that folks need. I've gone through a number of emails today where staff has provided information and we're not clear on what it is people are looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Councillor Thompson, I believe I see your hand up. Brian, are you there?
Sorry, I was talking. I have two questions. So the one is a greater question about our water system that I don't want to lose, but I'm now a bit curious. I just wanted to ask our CIO for clarification. So when you say staff's at a loss, do you mean at a loss how to explain more clearly to ratepayers, or at a loss in the direction from council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to committee. I think where we're coming from is there was a suggestion to do a bit of a breakdown on our website. Happy to take that away and go and look at it. Staff has literally sat down with individual ratepayers and walked them through their bill. Beyond that, I guess we're not clear beyond the suggestion to break down some comparison bills and sitting down with ratepayers what more we need to do. Okay,
that helps me. So I won't speak for the rest of council, but having, my opinion only, having staff respond to the few who call our office, get a call back or request a call back, then try and organize another call. It's a bit like making the call, in my opinion, for your satellite. I would cancel my satellite as soon as I can make enough time during my workday to call Bell and talk to the two people that I need to do it. And I know I'll get somebody the first time I call. I won't have to call and leave a message and hope they call me back at a time that's convenient to me, at a time that I can talk. So from my chair, I would say having staff talk to individual ratepayers about how to understand their water bill is really, really inefficient. My comment about being able to go online is people could do it after supper, while they eat supper, while they watch TV at any time, and be able to look at their bill and say, so if I'm looking at a bill, I'm imagining how it would be communicated by us. So, I mean, I'm imagining a graphic that says, this is your bill. Here's where you see your 60 days usage. And I don't have a water bill, so I can't see it. You would take this number. Here's your proposed rate. Now, this is what you'd pay. This would be your proposed rate. So people could consume the information on their own. That's my only question. It just communicates to the broad masses a lot more efficiently and in a way that they can understand the information or consume it on their own. I think it would be I think that our staff has worked really hard to try and explain it to people individually and put their mind at ease, but I'm just curious if it's not maybe efficient. So that's just my opinion though.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'm going to let Madam CEO reply.
Oh, okay, sure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Thompson, you're describing our future dream. to be on online billing, and you're absolutely right. We would love to get to a point where there's a utility calculator on the website, and we're just not there yet. So in the absence of having that kind of tool and technology, and you're describing something I had in a former municipality, staff is doing their best to try and explain, to the ratepayers. Is it the most efficient? You're absolutely right. It's not, but we're just not there yet with our technology. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, does that answer your question?
It does. I don't want to badger this, but I don't want to, I think I'm being misunderstood because it's not an engine I'm talking about. It's a 3-pager Word document with some screenshots. Like, it's not an engine. It's not a technology. It's not something we would buy. It's a different way of communicating. But I'm confident that you're going to take it forward and move it forward. And so that's, and if there's confusion about what I mean by the tool, it's not an engine or a refined piece. It's really a Word document with a few snapshots. The other question is, and this is directed at my colleagues, I think we have to, I'll put my hand up and say I'm the most guilty with Mr. Mayor, because I've been here, and Councillor Barfoot, you've been here a long time too. So the three of us have been here for a long time. We have inequitable water systems, and we need to do something. So it doesn't matter about setting rates, and it doesn't matter about, what we do today. We have to consider how they are not created equally. So we will never have equity as long as the 25 users in Potawatomi are paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for really crappy water, and the people in Shallow Lake will be paying a lot less for better water. And so my question to us is, we've got to put that on our radar, and we've got to look at how we tackle that. Councillor Pringle alluded to that we've got a situation, and we've sort of, this is a strong term, but we've sort of whistled happily past the graveyard rather than really tackle it. And it's something that I think we need to turn our minds to. And so it's easy to say that, but I think we need to put it on our agenda to start to problem solve.
I agree 100%, Councillor Thompson, that it is a priority, and I think in every councillor's mind. We had made some attempts to try and solve the problem at Potawatomi, but it didn't work out. But it's definitely a system we need to give some real immediate tender level care and see if we can't come up with a solution. A great solution to that system would be to have the City of Owen Sound extend their water system out to that Potawatomi area to put them on municipal water that way. That would be an ideal situation. But we'll just move forward. Does council have any other questions? Councillor Barfoot, I believe. You're muted, Carol.
No, I'm on mute. No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate where everybody's opinion is coming from. And when these water systems went in, it was very clear that it was a user-based system. Unfortunately, there's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers. And for that, I'm sorry. I had mentioned probably a couple of years ago, had we approached the city. In fact, I think I even mentioned it to Stephen here just recently. Have we approached the city? Have we made our intentions known? Like, they're not going to come offering us something for nothing. We've got to go after it. And can we say that we have? I don't think we can.
Thank you, Councillor Barfoot, for that comment. I would say that we need to be, with our new CEO in place, to have better communication and conversation with the City of Owen Sound CEO and see if we can't come up with some kind of a mutual understanding and agreement to help out with these systems. And I'm quite sure Cynthia, that's on her radar to be able to start those conversations with the City of Owen Sound, Mr. Tim Simmons, their CEO, to see how we can work together as two municipalities to make this happen. And Cynthia is shaking her head. She's probably right on top already. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not trying to be difficult when I say this, but I can't approve anything. Yes, I can approve accepting it for information, but until you prove to me that we have tried to negotiate with the city, I'm not in favor of any increases. I think we owe that to our ratepayers to do as much as we can do, and we haven't done that so far.
Thank you, Carol. Councillor Thompson, please go ahead.
I agree with Councillor Barfoot and the things she says. I just think we have to, so we need to go back to them. Councillor Barfoot, you remember we went to them multiple times during the last term of council that we were on and approached them about Potawatomi specifically. And they said, as until and unless it includes a conversation about changing the borders, we are not interested in talking to you about water. We refuse to have our water going outside of our borders. So we have talked to them. I think we're guilty of letting it die. I think we need to be more persistent and asking and asking and asking again, because what happens in that case is years go by like we are at now. So I think what we would be able, if a councillor were to say to us, do you continue to talk to the city about extending water there? No, we would be able to say, well, we did it. And they said no, so we just went away. We haven't gone back to them. I think we need to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Deputy Mayor Carlton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was involved with a County Economic Development Committee meeting this morning, and boundaries and that type of thing was brought up, collaborating and sharing. And the Mayor of Owen Sound did make a comment about what their capacity is that they were built for. It's about double what they have, and that they are interested in looking at other things. And the CAO of Owen Sound was on that call as well. Now, Mr. Simmons didn't have any comments to make, but I think collectively at the county, we're looking at how can each municipality work together to support the others. So we're starting. Unfortunately, it's the end of a term, but we're starting. It's some positive comments.
That's good comments, Deputy Mayor Carlson. Nice to see that happen behind the scenes. Madam CEO, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to council, I think those are all excellent comments, and absolutely, I'm happy to get to the table and pursue alternates. I might ask our treasurer, though, to comment. Regardless of the solution, we need to have the financial plan, and we need to have the reserves in place. So whether it is continuing with the assets that we have, if we're talking about extending water services from anywhere else, that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen very quickly. And so I would just caution council and remind council that as the owners of the current water system, you have to have a sustainable water reserve and a plan regardless of how you're providing the water. So I might just ask Ms. Buchanan to comment on that statutory requirement that the council has.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Madam Treasurer, please go ahead.
Thank you. And through you to committee, what our CAO has said is correct. We must have a sustainable water plan, financial plan. And right now, unfortunately, we do not have sufficient reserves if anything was to happen to any one of the 4 water systems. If something major, such as a failure, was to happen, we would be scrambling to fund and pay for it. We don't have reserves to pay for it. We'd have to see if we can qualify for loan, see if we could qualify for any government funding, or we'd be looking at the current users that are connected and going to them and saying, you must pay for this now.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Does council have any other questions on this particular motion? If they don't, Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask for a recorded vote on this motion, please.
So I would just want to make one note before we take the vote. Councillor Barfoot, I do see that your hand is raised. So I want to note that if there are any amendments or any other actions to come out of this vote, now is the time to do so before we take the vote. So, Mr. Mayor, I would note that Councillor Barfoot.
Okay, I'll go to Councillor Barfoot first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Don't forget, it wasn't too long ago that information went out about supposed plans for extending the East Linton water system through Brook, Sarawak, round to Potawatomi. It scared the daylights out of a lot of property owners. And so people are on edge anyways. And now to have this on top of it, it just makes things worse for the ratepayers. I'm sorry, but I just thought I would remind that we sent the stuff out. So is this people are wondering, is this a ploy to go the other route?
I don't think so, Councillor Barfoot. I believe it was a good attempt to try and create extend the East Linton water system out through the municipality, and it didn't happen. Councillor Coburn, please go ahead.
Yeah, so just thank you, Mayor Burley. I'm not sure I ever got an answer to my question regarding how much time do we have to get better word out, to maybe work with a little bit more with our public around education and awareness in a more efficient manner, as Councillor Thompson has recommended. So I'll just return to that question. I do note that this motion is not just to receive this report as information, but that we are, it sounds like we're being asked to approve that the new water rates be enacted effective May 1st. Or, Mr. Mayor, is that to be confirmed officially at our next council meeting?
The motion as presented here tonight is to approve to go ahead with water increases May 1st. And then we'll follow up with, at our next council meeting, a bylaw coming forth to finalize it. That's what the motion that we have here before us. But I believe, Madam Clerk, you indicated that you're asking if council members have any amendments they want to make to that motion. Is that what I'm hearing? Please go ahead.
So that is correct. Per the motion, the committee is being asked to support approval of the amended water rates. Now, no committee decisions are final until ratified by council. So the minutes will become a part of the agenda next week for final ratification of the committee decisions. And in regards to communications, sorry, I may pass it over to our CAO.
I'll go to you in a minute, Sue. Please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think to Councillor Coburn's question about how quickly we could get information on our website, I know that my two colleagues here have been back and forth with each other. We would look at getting information up on our website as quickly as possible. I would say within a week we could do that.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Carlton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern is that if we put off increasing these rates, we're just delaying the inevitable and we're making it worse. We're going to make it a bigger rate increase needed as time goes on. These rates probably should have been increased 3 or 4 years ago, and then maybe we wouldn't be in such a bad place. However, that didn't happen. So I think we have to move forward. And I think the best thing we can do is increase those rates now to try and get the reserves built up, because we don't want to face that kind of disaster and have to go back to system users and say, oh, now it's going to cost you this much. So I don't think we really have a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask one last time. Does council have any other comments, questions, or amendments? Councilor Barfoot, please go ahead. You muted, Carol?
Sorry, I should have asked this before. What are our present reserves in our water systems.
Madam Treasurer can answer that. Please go ahead.
If you are to look at page 10 on the report that was included in the agenda tonight, it does have the unaudited 2021 reserve funds that are for each water system.
Okay, I was trying to find it. I'll find it eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn. I'm seeing no Councillor Pringle.
Yeah, sorry, they're not to beat this to death anymore too, and I appreciate the fact, I know how hard the staff's worked on trying to get this together, and it is inevitable, as Councillor or the Deputy Mayor just mentioned there. Yeah, something's got to happen, right? We need the money. There's no doubt about it, and they're going to have to pay. I want to make sure that in our plan moving forward that we are going to take a serious look at the Potawatomi Village and a couple others and make sure we do give you something for your money. And I've always keep going back to this, but they're going to put the rates up and nothing gets any better. And that, to me, it just doesn't sit well with me. So as long as there are some reassurances that we're going to go down that road, I get putting the money, I get putting the dollars up. I get it. And I really believe and I trust everything that the staff do that for us. I've never argued anything on, I always take their word that they've done everything they can for the township. So I just want to make sure that moving forward here that there's some serious look happening at the Potawatomi Village, and let's get to the table of Owen Sound here and get something happening, because I believe it's only fair to them. So anyway, I'm good with the rates. I get it. I know what has to happen. So yeah, I just want to put that out there.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. I can assure you that by the look on Madam CEO's face and staff, they will definitely not let this set. We will start working to see what we can do to solve these problems. I see no other questions or comments. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And if council is amendable to it, by summarizing this conversation, it seems as though there's a general will amongst council for staff to build an online resource for the public to use to calculate the impact specifically of these water rates to their individual water bills. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the rest of council, I would recommend that the motion be amended to reflect that staff direction, just for clarity. Specifically, I would recommend that we add a line that reflects as follows: that staff are hereby directed to create an online tool for publication on the township's website to assist the public in evaluating impacts of the proposed water rates.
Thank you. Do we need to vote on that amendment, Madam Clerk?
We would need a mover and a seconder on the amendment, followed by a vote.
Do I have a mover for that? I believe I have Councillor Thompson and Councillor Barfoot. If there's no other discussion, a show of hands in favor of the amendment. The motion is carried. Now, Madam Clerk, can you please take the vote?
Yes, I can. Is there any interest in my rereading the motion with the amendment? Or is council clear on what we're voting on?
I see heads nodding yes.
So we're clear on what we're
Yes.
voting on? Okay, thank you. So when I call your name, please indicate your vote for the motion on currently being considered. Councillor Grant Pringle,
For.
Councillor Carol Barfoot,
For.
Councillor Paul Sutherland,
For.
Councillor Kathy Moore Coburn,
For.
Councillor Ryan Thompson,
For.
Deputy Mayor Sue Carlton,
For.
and Mayor Dwight Burley.
For.
Thank you, and that carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we are now, excuse me, moving off our agenda. We're down to planning. I'll read the recommendation first. Whereas the Township of Georgian Bus sold the Wharton Keppel International Airport to private ownership, and whereas said sale closed on December 21st, 2021, now therefore the senior planner is hereby directed to submit a formal withdrawal of the Niagara Escarpment Plan, NEP, Amendment US 59, Wharton Airport application to the Niagara Escarpment Commission, NEC, as the township is no longer the owner of the Wharton Keble International Airport. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. And Madam Planner, are you here, please? There you are. Hi, Jen. Go ahead.
Hello and good evening, everyone. The report's fairly straightforward. The township no longer owns the airport, so moving forward with an application is essentially redundant. I'm looking for direction from the committee to officially withdraw the application and close the file. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jen. Does council have any questions on the motion before us? See none. A show of hands, all in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. Moving off our agenda, we have no public questions for Madam Clerk. No. We're down to unfinished business, none new business. I'm going to let Councillor Barfoot, I believe you had made some comments concerning reporting back from staff. Do you want to repeat your question, please, Carol? You're muted, Carol.
Okay, I'll just go according to my list. The phone system, there seems to be some type of a problem. I'm not sure if it's with the system or with the people that should be using it. In 1 week, I had 2 ratepayers that had phoned the township office. One had phoned 4 times and left messages with 4 different people, and no one ever got back to him. Then I had another call, and council just got a message from a ratepayer that said he had phoned the township office and no one got back to him. So I want to know, what is the problem? Is it with the phone system, or is staff just not returning calls?
Well, I'm going to let Madam CEO answer that first. Carol, please go ahead, Madam CEO.
Through Mr. Mayor to committee, yeah, we need to get to the bottom of that. If ratepayers are calling and they're not getting through to staff, or staff is not getting the voicemail message, we need to get to the bottom of that. So I'd be happy to follow up with Councillor Barfoot. And if we can determine who and when they were calling, I will work with Ms. Drury to do an assessment of our phone system, see if there's any technical issues. And if it's protocol, we'll work on that as well. But that shouldn't happen.
Thank you, Madam CEO. I find our phone system most frustrating thing I ever used, but that could be just me. And please do your investigation, because I think maybe we need to look at it. Carol, please go ahead. Oh, just a minute,
Okay.
Ryan.
Okay, that was.
Carol, excuse me, Carol.
Yeah.
Let Councillor Thompson answer the question.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I want to support what Councillor Barfoot's saying, and I also recognize it's a tricky situation. So on an almost daily basis here, I respond to people saying, I've called my worker, or I've called this person, or I've called this supervisor 3 times and they haven't called me back. And in some of the cases, that is absolutely true. And in some of the cases, it's that, I would go to the supervisor and they say, yes, she did call me. I called her back 8 minutes after she called her and I left her a message. Or I tried to leave her a message, but her phone wasn't taking messages and I called her again. So the trick here is not that I'm saying it's not happening. I think it is happening. The trick here is to get to the bottom of it and help our staff get to the bottom of it. So what I try and do, not to say this is the right thing, what I try and do at work and what I try and do with ratepayers is say, I'm going to follow up on this. When did you call? Or who did you talk to? And in many cases, they're able to say to me, I called on Monday and I talked to this person. And that lets me pass that forward to our CAO or whoever else to do the work they need to do to make sure we're being responsive. I also find in some cases they say, well, I called and I left a message. Well, you said you talked to somebody. Who did you talk to? Well, I didn't. I guess I didn't talk to someone. So it's just helping to sort out where the root of this problem is and helping our CAO or whatever senior leader is doing that, sort through the issues. So that was just my feedback, because I share Councillor Barfoot's concerns. We do get lots of calls where people are saying, I'm not getting a call back, and we do need to sort some of those things out.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Please go ahead, Councillor Barfoot.
Okay, there's so many things that have been going on lately, and we send stuff off to staff, but we don't get a follow-up. We'll take, for example, who cut all the trees up on Old Mill Road? Who clear cut them? Never did find out about that, so I can't give anybody any answers because they don't know. And there's other kinds of updates that we should be getting from staff when we send stuff to them. Okay. Phone system, okay. Who cut trees? Okay. Then we get a situation such as one we were made aware of yesterday, and Madam CAO was on that and investigating that. And I don't feel that I should be playing detective. It's not my job to be detective. And I just feel sometimes ratepayers, out of frustration, phone counselors. First of all, they feel they know them, and they feel they can, we will be honest with them. A lot of times we can. And such an incident just come forward in the last couple of days that could have caused a real problem between two user groups. And I don't like to see that. And it was just sort of a, whoops, we screwed up type deal. And I'm not going to go any further into that. Anyways, just a reminder to staff to get back to council. When council forwards something to you, it's nice if we know what the outcome of it is. Are you looking into it? Are you not looking into it? Did you know about it? Just a one-liner would do.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barfoot, for your comments. I'm quite sure Madam CEO are listening to your comments and making notes, and we'll definitely make sure we try to improve our communication between council and our staff members. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Colburn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to lend support to the words of my fellow Councillor Barfoot. I too have been frustrated by that recently. I don't want to spend my time doing investigations. That's not my role. My role is to set policy. And also, if I am going to speak to the Gleason Lake trail situation that caused the upset over the last few days, because it's a good example. We know that's been a controversial issue. We know that we've spent almost 3 years on that particular issue. We thought we had it resolved. A gate was opened, and that is totally not the issue. But as a council member with an issue that's that controversial and has taken up that much of our time and effort, and staff's as well, it makes sense to give council a heads up that that action is about to take place, so that when we get phone calls from angry and concerned residents, we can explain to them what has happened and help to mitigate. It also makes us look rather foolish when council isn't made aware of these things, and then we're forced to have to try to investigate ourselves. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your words saying that we need to be more committed to better communications between staff and council. I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Colburn, for your comments. Councillor Barfoot, I just want to make sure that you'd brought all the things forward that you wanted to.
Well, the other thing that it was just a thought. In the past, we've always said, oh, it would be nice if council could just sit down, just council. We have a new CAO. Maybe it would be nice if council as a whole could sit down with our new CAO and have sort of a get to know you type thing.
I agree with that 100%, Councillor Barth, but I'd love to see council and our CO in our council chambers together is what I'd like to see, but I don't know if we can do that or not with everybody's feeling when it comes to COVID and so on. It's entirely up to you. The door is open that we could do it, I think, but I see Madam CEO shaking her head, thinking that maybe it would be a good thing, but it's entirely up to her.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can chat with the clerk about how we do that from a legislative standpoint. Thank you.
No, I understand. And Carol, do you have anything else?
No, I think transparency is the big thing, and communication is the big things on my list. And I think, if we sat down as a group, I've always heard you say, oh, we got to work as a team. Well, maybe teams should have a team meeting. I don't know. Just food for thought.
No, I agree 100% with your way of thinking. It is a good thing that we have. So I'll move on for agenda then. Does any council member have any notice of motions they want to bring forward here tonight?
At our last meeting, sorry.
Okay, Councillor Barfoot, go ahead.
Sorry, at our last meeting, I sort of got into trouble for wanting to do something in camera. Are we going to do that in the future?
Councillor Barfoot, if you talk to the clerk and have an item you want to talk about it in camera at our next council meeting, please go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note that yes, Councillor Barfoot, myself, and Cynthia have connected, and we will schedule Councillor Barfoot's requested item for a meeting in March.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. We've no closed session here tonight. We're down to motion of adjournment. Our next meeting is February 16th at 5 o'clock. Do I have someone to move to put a motion on the floor for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Barfoot, second by Councillor Thompson. I believe that's the way it was. Is there all in favor of adjournment? Please show of hands. Thanks, everybody. We're now adjourned.